I've always been a bit of a thrill seeker, drawn to the unknown and the forbidden. The dark web, with its whispered legends and hidden treasures, was like a magnet for my curiosity. It wasn't just about the illegal stuff or the shady deals. It was the mystery, the allure of uncovering secrets that society deemed too dark to explore. So, one night, fueled by a mix of curiosity and adrenaline, I decided to take a peek into the dark web's marketplace. With my trusty VPN in place and a sense of trepidation tingling in the back of my mind, I delved into the digital underworld. The marketplace was a chaotic mess of offerings, ranging from drugs and counterfeit goods to hacked accounts and stolen data. But amidst this digital chaos, it was the mystery boxes that caught my eye. I had heard whispers about them in online forums, tales of strange and eerie experiences packaged into boxes and sold to the highest bidder. One listing in particular stood out to me, a mystery box that promised a real-life horror experience. The seller's description was cryptic yet intriguing, hinting at personalized nightmares tailored to the buyer's deepest fears. It was like something out of a horror movie, and I couldn't resist the temptation to see what it was all about. Of course, I didn't want to dive into this dark adventure alone. I thought about who would be the perfect candidate to share this experience with me, someone who shared my sense of adventure and thrill. That's when I thought of my best friend, Sam. Sam and I had been friends since childhood, sharing countless memories and secrets. But as life took its toll and we grew older, our friendship had started to drift apart. We still cared about each other, of course, but there was a distance that hadn't been there before. Ordering the mystery box felt like a way to bridge that gap, to bring back the excitement and closeness we had lost. It was meant to be a harmless prank, a way to inject some fun and adventure into our lives. So, with a mix of excitement and nervousness, I clicked the Buy Now button and entered Sam's address as the shipping destination. I imagined his surprise and excitement when he received the mysterious package, never suspecting the horrors that lurked within. It was all in good fun, or so I thought at the time. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent decision would lead to a chain of events that would forever change our lives, plunging us into a nightmare from which there was no escape. The days passed after I ordered the mystery box, and life went on as usual. I had almost forgotten about my impulsive decision, caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. But then, one evening, I received a text from Sam that sent a chill down my spine. The text read, "Hey, got a weird package today. Did you order something for me?" My heart raced as I realized that the mystery box had arrived. I replied, trying to downplay my excitement. "Yeah, just a little surprise. Let me know what you think." I waited anxiously for his response, wondering what horrors or delights awaited him inside the box. Minutes felt like hours as I stared at my phone, the anticipation building with each passing second, and then finally his reply came. "Dude, this is insane. You have to come over and see this." With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, I rushed over to Sam's place. He greeted me at the door with a wide-eyed expression, holding the mystery box in his hands like a prized possession. "You won't believe what's inside," he exclaimed, his voice a mix of excitement and disbelief. We sat down in his living room, the mystery box between us like a ticking time bomb. Sam hesitated for a moment before opening it, as if sensing the gravity of what lay inside. With a deep breath, he lifted the lid, and we both peered inside, unsure of what to expect. What we saw inside the box sent a shiver down my spine. It was like a scene from a horror movie come to life. There were strange artifacts, cryptic symbols, and a letter written in a language we couldn't recognize. The air seemed to grow colder as we examined the contents, a sense of unease settling over us like a dark cloud. But the real horror came when we read the letter. It was addressed to Sam, and it contained a chilling message. "You have unleashed something dark and sinister. Prepare for the consequences." It was signed with a symbol we didn't recognize, adding to the mystery and fear. We tried to brush it off as a prank, a clever marketing ploy by the seller of the mystery box. But as the days passed, strange things started happening. Sam would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat and mumbling about nightmares he couldn't remember. Objects would move on their own, and strange noises echoed through his apartment. At first, we laughed it off, attributing it to stress or lack of sleep. But as the occurrences became more frequent and more bizarre, we couldn't deny that something was terribly wrong. Sam's demeanor changed, becoming more paranoid and agitated. He would talk about feeling like he was being watched, like something was following him wherever he went. I tried to convince him to seek help, to talk to a therapist or even a priest if necessary. But Sam was adamant that this was more than just a psychological issue. He was convinced that the mystery box had unleashed a malevolent force, a dark entity that was now haunting him. As his friend, I felt responsible. I had brought this horror into his life, all in the name of a silly prank. Guilt gnawed at me, eating away at my conscience as I watched Sam's mental state deteriorate before my eyes. And then, one fateful night, I received a frantic call from Sam. His voice was filled with terror as he whispered, "It's here. The thing from the box. It's real and it's coming for me." I could hear footsteps and strange noises in the background, and then the line went dead. I rushed to Sam's apartment, my heart pounding with fear and regret. But when I arrived, it was too late. Sam was dead, his lifeless body lying on the floor, surrounded by symbols and artifacts from the mystery box. The police ruled it as a suicide, citing Sam's deteriorating mental state as the cause. But I knew the truth. I had unleashed a nightmare upon my best friend, a horror that had claimed his life. The guilt and remorse weighed heavy on my shoulders, a constant reminder of the consequences of my actions. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had opened a door to darkness that should have remained closed. And as I sit here, haunted by the memory of Sam's death and the horrors of the mystery box, I can't help but wonder if there are other boxes out there, waiting to unleash their horrors on unsuspecting victims. After Sam's tragic death, my world spiraled into a nightmarish blur of guilt and grief. The weight of responsibility for what had happened to him bore down on me like a leaden cloak, suffocating me with every breath. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had unleashed something malevolent, something that had taken my best friend from me in the most horrifying way possible. The days following Sam's death were a haze of funeral arrangements and condolences. Friends and family offered their support, but their words of comfort fell on deaf ears. How could I explain to them the true nature of what had happened? How could I tell them that I had ordered a mystery box on the dark web, leading to Sam's untimely demise? The guilt gnawed at me day and night, a relentless reminder of my role in the tragedy. I couldn't sleep, haunted by nightmares of Sam's final moments and the malevolent force that had claimed his life. Every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking threat, every creak of the floorboards a whisper of impending doom. But it wasn't just my imagination running wild. Strange things started happening in my own life, echoing the horrors that had befallen Sam. Objects would go missing, only to reappear in inexplicable places. I would hear whispers in the dead of night, voices that seemed to come from nowhere and yet everywhere at once. I tried to convince myself that it was all in my head, a manifestation of my guilt and grief. But deep down, I knew that something was terribly wrong. The darkness that had claimed Sam's life had now set its sights on me, a relentless force hell-bent on driving me to the brink of madness. I became obsessed with finding answers, with unraveling the mystery of the mystery box. I scoured the dark web, diving deeper into its murky depths than I had ever dared before. I contacted the seller, hoping to glean some insight into the horrors he had unleashed upon us. But the seller was elusive, his responses cryptic and evasive. He spoke of ancient curses and forbidden knowledge, of powers beyond human comprehension. It was clear that he knew more than he let on, but he refused to divulge the truth, leaving me with more questions than answers. As the days turned into weeks, the paranormal activity in my life intensified. I would wake up to find scratches on my walls, symbols etched in blood-red paint. I would see shadows darting in the corners of my vision, fleeting glimpses of something dark and sinister. I reached out to experts in the occult and paranormal, desperate for help in understanding what was happening to me. Some dismissed me as a lunatic, attributing the phenomena to stress or mental illness. But others took me seriously, conducting rituals and investigations to uncover the truth. What they discovered chilled me to the bone. The mystery box I had ordered was not just a harmless prank or a clever marketing gimmick. It was a portal, a gateway to a realm of darkness and despair. The artifacts inside were cursed, imbued with malevolent energies that fed off fear and despair. I had unwittingly invited a demon into my life, a creature of pure evil that thrived on suffering and death. And now it was coming for me, seeking to claim my soul as its next victim. I tried everything to rid myself of the curse, from exorcisms to protective talismans. But the demon was relentless, its presence growing stronger with each passing day. It whispered promises of power and immortality, tempting me to embrace the darkness that had consumed my life. But I refused to give in. I refused to let the demon win, to let it claim another innocent life. I fought back with every ounce of strength and willpower I had, determined to break free from its grasp. And then one night, as I sat alone in my darkened apartment, the demon appeared before me. It was a monstrous creature, all claws and fangs and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. It spoke to me in a voice that echoed with the screams of the damned, promising eternal torment if I didn't surrender to its will. But I stood my ground, my heart pounding with fear and defiance. I called upon every ounce of courage I had, every shred of hope and determination. And with a final act of defiance, I banished the demon back to the depths from whence it came. The darkness lifted, the whispers ceased, and I was left alone in the silence of my apartment. The curse had been broken, but at what cost? I had lost my best friend, and I had come face to face with the true horrors of the dark web. As I sit here now, haunted by the memories of what happened, I can't help but wonder if it was all worth it. Was the thrill of the unknown worth the price of my sanity and the life of my friend? I may never know the answer, but one thing is certain. The dark web holds secrets that should never be uncovered, lest they consume us all in their endless darkness. After the encounter with the demon, my life became a relentless pursuit of understanding and redemption. The events that had transpired had left me shaken to the core, my mind a whirlwind of questions and doubts. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the mystery than I had uncovered, that there were secrets lurking in the shadows waiting to be revealed. I delved deeper into the occult and paranormal, seeking answers from ancient texts and obscure rituals. I consulted with experts and scholars, desperate for any shred of knowledge that could shed light on what had happened. But the more I searched, the more elusive the truth became. It was during one of my late-night research sessions that I stumbled upon a clue, a cryptic message hidden in an ancient grimoire. The message spoke of a ritual that could summon and bind demonic entities. It was risky, dangerous even, but I was desperate for answers, willing to risk everything to uncover the truth. I gathered the necessary materials and prepared for the ritual with a mix of fear and determination. The air crackled with anticipation as I lit the candles and inscribed the symbols, following the instructions with painstaking precision. And then, with a deep breath and a steady hand, I began the incantation. The words flowed from my lips like a prayer and a curse, a plea for knowledge and a demand for answers. The room seemed to vibrate with energy, a palpable sense of otherworldly presence filling the air. And then, in a flash of blinding light, the demon appeared before me once again. Its form was terrifying, a grotesque amalgamation of nightmares and nightmares. But I stood my ground, steeling myself against its malevolent gaze. I demanded answers, demanding to know why it had targeted me and Sam, why it had brought such horror into our lives. The demon's response was cryptic, yet revealing. It spoke of ancient pacts and forgotten promises, of a world beyond our understanding where darkness and light were but two sides of the same coin. It spoke of the dark web as a gateway, a portal to realms unseen and unexplored. But what chilled me to the bone was its warning. It warned me of forces beyond my control, of entities far more powerful and malevolent than itself. It warned me that by delving too deep into the mysteries of the dark web, I had attracted the attention of beings that should never be disturbed. I pressed the demon for more information, desperate to understand the full extent of what I had unleashed. But it refused to divulge more, fading away into the shadows with a haunting laugh. I was left alone once again, with more questions than answers, and a sinking feeling of dread in the pit of my stomach. I continued my research, piecing together fragments of information like a detective unraveling a complex conspiracy. I uncovered ancient texts and forbidden knowledge, each revelation bringing me closer to the truth. But the truth was more horrifying than I could have ever imagined. I learned of secret societies and occult rituals, of dark web forums where the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred. I learned of entities that lurked in the digital shadows, feeding off fear and despair. And I learned of a prophecy that spoke of a chosen one who would unlock the gates of hell itself. I realized then that I had stumbled upon something far more sinister than a simple mystery box prank. I had stumbled upon a conspiracy that spanned centuries, a conspiracy that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. And I knew that I couldn't face it alone. I reached out to others, fellow seekers of truth and knowledge. Together, we formed a clandestine network, sharing information and pooling our resources in a desperate bid to stop the darkness from consuming us all. We conducted rituals and experiments, seeking to harness the same forces that had brought such horror into our lives. But with each step closer to the truth, the dangers grew more real. We were targeted by unknown adversaries, shadowy figures who lurked in the digital shadows, watching our every move. Our lives became a game of cat and mouse, a deadly dance with forces beyond our control. And then, one fateful night, as we delved deeper into the mysteries of the dark web, tragedy struck. One of our own, a brave soul who had dared to confront the darkness head-on, disappeared without a trace. We searched high and low, but there was no sign of them, no clue to their whereabouts. It was a stark reminder of the stakes we were playing for, of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. But we pressed on, fueled by a mix of determination and desperation. We knew that the only way to stop the darkness was to confront it, to shine a light on the secrets that lay hidden in the depths of the dark web. As I sit here now, reflecting on the journey that has brought me to this point, I can't help but wonder what lies ahead. The darkness is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next opportunity to strike. But I am not alone. I have allies, fellow seekers who share my determination to uncover the truth and put an end to the horrors that haunt us. The road ahead is treacherous, filled with unknown dangers and unseen adversaries. But I am ready. I am ready to face the darkness head-on, to confront the demons that lurk in the digital abyss. And I will not rest until the mysteries of the dark web are laid bare and the forces of darkness are banished once and for all. As the days stretched into uncertainty, our clandestine network grew stronger. We pooled our knowledge and resources, delving deeper into the mysteries of the dark web and the secrets it harbored. But with each revelation came new challenges, new dangers that threatened to tear us apart. The disappearance of our comrade weighed heavily on us, a grim reminder of the perils we faced in our quest for truth. We redoubled our efforts, conducting rituals and experiments with a sense of urgency that bordered on desperation. We knew that time was running out, that the forces we were up against were growing stronger with each passing day. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, a glimmer of hope emerged. We uncovered a lead, a clue that pointed to a hidden enclave within the dark web, a place where the darkest secrets were said to be kept. It was a risk, a leap into the unknown, but we knew that we had to follow the trail wherever it led. Armed with determination and a sense of purpose, we set out on our final journey. The path was treacherous, filled with digital traps and hidden dangers, but we pressed on, driven by a shared sense of duty and the hope of uncovering the truth. As we ventured deeper into the digital abyss, the stakes grew higher. We were targeted by unknown adversaries, shadowy figures who seemed to anticipate our every move. But we refused to be deterred, pressing forward with unwavering resolve. And then, at long last, we reached our destination, the hidden enclave within the dark web. It was a place shrouded in secrecy, a labyrinth of encrypted files and cryptic messages. But we were undaunted, fueled by a sense of purpose that bordered on obsession. We began to unravel the secrets hidden within the enclave, piecing together fragments of information like a puzzle. We learned of ancient rituals and forbidden knowledge, of entities that lurked in the digital shadows, waiting to be unleashed. And we learned of a prophecy that spoke of a chosen one who would wield the power to shape reality itself. But as we delved deeper, we realized that we were not alone. The shadowy figures who had been pursuing us were closing in, their presence growing stronger with each passing moment. We knew that we had to act fast, to uncover the truth before it was too late. And then, in a moment of clarity, it all clicked into place. We discovered the identity of the chosen one, the one who held the key to unlocking the power hidden within the dark web. It was someone within our own ranks, someone who had been with us from the beginning. But as we prepared to confront the chosen one, tragedy struck once again. Our stronghold was attacked, our defenses breached by unknown forces. Chaos erupted as we fought for our lives, our quest for truth overshadowed by the grim reality of survival. In the midst of the chaos, I found myself face to face with the chosen one. They were a figure shrouded in mystery, their intentions unclear. But as we locked eyes, I saw a flicker of recognition, a spark of understanding that transcended words. We stood there in silence, the weight of our shared destiny hanging heavy in the air. And then, with a nod of mutual understanding, we joined forces. We knew that our only chance of survival lay in unity, in setting aside our differences and confronting the true enemy that lurked in the shadows. Together, we faced the final challenge, a battle that would determine the fate of not just our clandestine network, but the world itself. It was a battle of wills and ideologies, a clash of ancient powers and modern technology. And in the end, against all odds, we emerged victorious. The forces of darkness were banished, their power broken by the combined strength of our unity and determination. The dark web, once a realm of nightmares and secrets, was cleansed of its malevolent influence. But the cost of victory was high. Many lives were lost, sacrifices made in the name of a greater cause. Our clandestine network was scattered, its members scattered to the winds, their fates unknown. As I reflect on the journey that brought me to this point, I can't help but wonder what lies ahead. The dark web may have been cleansed, but its secrets still linger, waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to seek them out. I may never know the full extent of what we uncovered in our quest for truth, but one thing is certain: the darkness that lurks in the digital shadows is not to be underestimated. It is a force that can consume us all if we're not careful, a reminder that some secrets are best left buried. And so, as I bid farewell to my comrades and set out on a new journey, I carry with me the lessons learned and the memories forged in the crucible of the dark web. I may never fully escape its influence, but I am determined to use what I have learned for the greater good, to ensure that the horrors we faced will never be unleashed upon the world again. I never thought delving into the dark web would lead to such horrors. It all started innocently enough, with my brother Alex, always fascinated by the hidden corners of the internet. He was a tech whiz, always tinkering with code and encryption. One day, he stumbled upon a forum thread about a mysterious website. Users spoke in hushed tones about its existence, claiming it was a gateway to the darkest secrets imaginable. Curiosity got the better of Alex, and he embarked on a journey to uncover the truth. He spent weeks deciphering cryptic clues, diving deeper into the abyss of the dark web. Late nights turned into early mornings as he pieced together fragments of information, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge. One rainy evening, while I was scrolling through Reddit, I received a frantic call from Alex. His voice trembled with excitement and fear as he relayed his findings. He had unearthed the entrance to the elusive website, a portal shrouded in mystery and danger. Despite my protests and warnings, he was determined to explore further, convinced that he was onto something groundbreaking. Days turned into weeks, and Alex became consumed by his quest. He grew distant, his once vibrant personality overshadowed by obsession. I could sense a growing unease in him, a palpable fear lurking beneath his facade of excitement. He would mumble incoherently in his sleep, haunted by nightmares I couldn't begin to comprehend. Then, one fateful night, he made a breakthrough. He discovered a section of the website labeled "The Chamber of Secrets." Intrigued and terrified in equal measure, he delved deeper, uncovering a series of encrypted files containing disturbing content. Photos and videos depicted unspeakable acts of violence and depravity, each more unsettling than the last. Alex's demeanor shifted drastically after that discovery. He became paranoid, constantly looking over his shoulder as if being followed. He would lock himself in his room for hours on end, muttering about shadows and whispers that only he could hear. I tried to intervene, to pull him back from the edge, but he was too far gone. Then, one morning, I woke up to an empty house. Alex was gone, leaving behind a trail of cryptic messages and encrypted files. No one knew where he had gone, or if he was even alive. The authorities were baffled, unable to make sense of the digital breadcrumbs he had scattered. As I sit here, haunted by the memory of my brother's descent into madness, I can't help but wonder what secrets he uncovered in the dark web's darkest depths. And more chillingly, if those secrets are now hunting him, lurking in the shadows, waiting to claim their next victim. The days stretched into weeks, and the mystery of Alex's disappearance only deepened. I found myself consumed by a relentless need to unravel the truth, to follow the breadcrumbs he left behind in the digital realm. Each encrypted file he left behind felt like a piece of a sinister puzzle, urging me to delve deeper into the darkness he had uncovered. I scoured every online forum, every dark web community, hoping to find a clue, a lead, anything that could shed light on Alex's whereabouts. The deeper I dug, the more unsettling the revelations became. Whispers of a clandestine organization, operating in the shadows, orchestrating unspeakable horrors for their own twisted amusement. One night, as I sifted through a maze of encrypted messages, I stumbled upon a cryptic thread titled "The Vanishing." Users spoke in veiled language, hinting at disappearances linked to the same mysterious website Alex had stumbled upon. They spoke of a darkness that consumed those who dared to peek behind the curtain, a darkness that left no trace of its victims. I reached out to these anonymous voices, desperate for answers. Some dismissed me as a curious bystander, warning me to tread carefully in the murky waters of the dark web. Others, however, whispered of a trail of breadcrumbs left by those who had vanished, a trail that led to a place known only as the Nexus. The Nexus, they claimed, was a digital labyrinth where reality blurred with nightmare. It was rumored to be the heart of the dark web's darkest secrets, a place where the lines between truth and fiction were irrevocably blurred. It was also said to be heavily guarded, with layers of encryption and security measures designed to deter even the most determined seekers. Undeterred by the warnings, fueled by a mix of fear and determination, I delved deeper into the enigma of the Nexus. I navigated through hidden forums, cracked codes, and deciphered cryptic messages, each step bringing me closer to the truth and closer to the unknown dangers that lurked in the shadows. And then one fateful night I received a message from an anonymous source. The message was brief, yet it sent a chill down my spine. It contained a single word: beware. It was a warning, a cryptic reminder of the perils that awaited me as I ventured further into the abyss. But I couldn't turn back now. The hunt for my brother had become a quest for answers, a quest that would lead me to the darkest corners of the dark web and into a confrontation with forces beyond my comprehension. As I prepared to embark on this perilous journey, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that every move I made was being scrutinized by unseen eyes. The stage was set, the pieces in motion. The hunt for Alex had transformed into a hunt for truth, a hunt that would test my sanity and push me to the brink of madness. And as I stared into the abyss of the Nexus, I knew that there was no turning back. Entering the Nexus was like stepping into a nightmare made tangible. The interface was a dizzying array of neon colors and distorted imagery, a chaotic amalgamation of code and chaos. It felt like navigating through a digital hellscape, where every click could lead to unknown horrors or hidden truths. The first challenge was gaining access. The Nexus was guarded by layers of encryption, each more complex than the last. It took days of relentless hacking, bypassing firewalls and cracking passwords, to finally breach the outer defenses. But even as I gained entry, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being a trespasser in a realm where I didn't belong. As I delved deeper into the Nexus, I encountered a labyrinth of forums and chat rooms, each with its own set of rules and secrets. Users spoke in cryptic language, exchanging information in whispers and riddles. It was a game of cat and mouse, where trust was a rare commodity, and deception lurked around every corner. One forum, in particular, caught my attention. It was titled The Oracle's Chamber, and it claimed to hold the answers I sought. Users spoke of a mysterious figure known only as the Oracle, a digital prophet who could reveal hidden truths and foretell the future. Skeptical yet desperate for answers, I ventured into the chamber. The Oracle's Chamber was a surreal experience. It was a virtual space devoid of any visual cues, a blank canvas where words and thoughts intertwined. Users communicated through text alone, their messages appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. It was disorienting, yet strangely captivating, like conversing with ghosts in a digital seance. I posed my question to the Oracle, asking about Alex's fate and the dark forces that had led him astray. The response was cryptic, yet ominous, hinting at a web of deceit and manipulation woven by unseen hands. The Oracle spoke of a hidden network of power, of shadowy figures pulling the strings from the shadows. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I delved deeper into the Nexus, unraveling threads of conspiracy and betrayal. I uncovered a trail of digital breadcrumbs leading to a group known as the Architects, They were rumored to be the puppet masters behind the dark web's most sinister dealings, orchestrating a twisted symphony of chaos and control. But as I dug deeper, I realized that I was not alone in my quest. Shadows lurked in the virtual corners, watching my every move. I received cryptic messages warning me to turn back, to abandon my pursuit before it consumed me. But I was driven by a primal need for answers, for closure in the face of unspeakable horrors. And then, one night, I stumbled upon a file that sent a chill down my spine. It was a video, grainy and distorted yet unmistakably real. It showed Alex, pale and gaunt, trapped in a dark room with walls adorned with cryptic symbols. He looked directly into the camera, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and resignation. And then, the video cut to black, leaving me with more questions than answers. The discovery shook me to the core. It was proof that Alex was alive, yet trapped in a nightmare of his own making. The architects had him in their clutches, using him as a pawn in their twisted game. Determined to rescue him, I forged ahead, navigating through the Nexus's darkest corners with a sense of urgency and dread. But with every step forward, the shadows grew deeper, the whispers louder. I could feel the presence of unseen forces closing in, threatening to consume me like they had consumed my brother. And as I braced myself for the final confrontation, I knew that the truth awaiting me at the heart of the Nexus would be more horrifying than anything I could have imagined. As I delved deeper into the Nexus, the lines between reality and nightmare blurred. Every click, every keystroke felt like a step deeper into a digital abyss where the rules of the physical world no longer applied. The Oracle's cryptic warnings echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. I uncovered more clues about the architects, piecing together fragments of information like a detective unraveling a complex conspiracy. They were a clandestine organization with roots stretching back centuries, their influence seeping into every corner of the dark web. They operated in shadows, pulling strings and manipulating events with impunity. But what chilled me to the bone was their ultimate goal. They sought to harness the darkest energies of the digital realm, to transcend the boundaries of reality and reshape the world according to their twisted desires. It was a megalomaniacal ambition, fueled by greed and madness, and Alex had unwittingly stumbled into their path. Armed with this knowledge, I navigated through the Nexus with a newfound sense of purpose. Every encounter, every interaction felt like a chess match against unseen adversaries. I exchanged cryptic messages with fellow seekers, forming alliances born out of necessity and shared desperation. One night, as I delved into a hidden archive, I stumbled upon a trove of encrypted files labeled Project Elysium. The contents were a chilling revelation, detailing the architect's plans to unleash a digital apocalypse unlike anything the world had ever seen. It spoke of a convergence of dark energies, a cataclysmic event that would plunge the world into chaos and despair. But what sent a shiver down my spine was the mention of sacrifices. The architects were not content with mere digital domination. They sought to feed on human suffering, to harvest souls as fuel for their dark ambitions. And among the names listed in those files was Alex's, a grim reminder of the fate that awaited him if I didn't intervene. Armed with this damning evidence, I reached out to the authorities, hoping to expose the architects' nefarious plans and rescue Alex from their clutches. But my pleas fell on deaf ears. The digital realm was a murky territory, beyond the jurisdiction of law enforcement, a playground for those who operated in shadows. Frustrated yet undeterred, I turned to the online community for support. Together, we launched a digital crusade, spreading awareness about the architect's machinations and urging others to join our cause. The response was mixed, with some dismissing us as conspiracy theorists and others joining our ranks with fervent determination. As the momentum grew, so did the risks. I received ominous messages from unknown sources warning me to cease my activities or face dire consequences. My digital footprint became a target, subjected to relentless hacking attempts and cyber attacks. But I refused to back down, fueled by a mix of righteous anger and sheer desperation. And then one night, as I delved deeper into the Nexus's underbelly, I stumbled upon a virtual meeting of the architects. It was a surreal experience, watching shadowy figures converse in hushed tones, their faces obscured by digital masks. They spoke of their plans with a chilling nonchalance, discussing sacrifices and rituals as if they were discussing mundane tasks. But what sent a chill down my spine was their mention of a forthcoming event, a convergence of dark energies that would herald the dawn of a new era. It was a countdown to destruction, and Alex was at the center of it all, a pawn in their grand scheme. Determined to stop this madness, I prepared for the final showdown. I armed myself with knowledge and allies, bracing for a confrontation with forces beyond my comprehension. The Nexus was a battlefield, and the fate of my brother and the world hung in the balance. As I took a deep breath and plunged into the digital abyss, I knew that there was no turning back. The countdown to the dark web's apocalypse had begun, ticking away like a digital time bomb. Every second felt like an eternity, each click of the clock a reminder of the impending catastrophe. I rallied my allies, forging a digital army united by a common cause, to stop the architects and save my brother from a fate worse than death. The final showdown took place in the heart of the Nexus, a virtual battleground where reality and nightmare converged. The architects had fortified their defenses, deploying layers of encryption and digital traps to deter intruders. But we were determined, fueled by a mix of desperation and righteous fury. The first obstacle was breaching their digital fortress. It took every ounce of our combined hacking skills to bypass their defenses, unraveling codes and disabling security measures with precision and determination. As we breached the outer perimeter, a sense of exhilaration, mixed with dread, washed over me. The stakes had never been higher, and failure was not an option. As we ventured deeper into the Nexus, the digital landscape grew more surreal. We encountered virtual mazes and puzzles designed to confound and confuse, each a test of wit and determination. But we pressed on, driven by a singular goal: to confront the architects and put an end to their reign of terror. The final chamber was a surreal sight, a virtual arena bathed in an eerie glow. The architects stood before us, their faces hidden behind digital masks, their voices distorted by encryption. They taunted us with promises of power and immortality, luring us into their twisted game. But we were not swayed. We stood united, a coalition of digital warriors fighting for a noble cause. We unleashed a barrage of cyber attacks, exploiting vulnerabilities and disrupting their communications. The virtual battlefield erupted into chaos, a symphony of code and chaos. In the midst of the chaos, I spotted Alex, trapped in a digital cage, his eyes filled with fear and resignation. He was a mere puppet in the architect's grand design, a sacrificial lamb in their quest for ultimate power. My heart clenched with a mix of rage and determination. I would not let them take him, not without a fight. With renewed resolve, we launched a final assault on the architect's stronghold. It was a battle of wills, a clash of ideologies. They fought with all the digital weapons at their disposal, unleashing viruses and malware in a desperate attempt to fend us off. But we were relentless, driven by a righteous fury that fueled our every move. And then, in a moment of sheer defiance, we breached their last line of defense. The digital fortress crumbled, the virtual walls collapsing in a cascade of code and chaos. The architects stood exposed, their masks shattered, their true faces revealed. What we saw chilled us to the bone. The architects were not faceless entities. They were people like us, consumed by greed and delusion. Their eyes were filled with madness, their voices tinged with desperation. They had gambled everything for power, and now they stood on the brink of defeat. As the dust settled, we gathered around Alex, freeing him from his digital prison. He was shaken but alive, his eyes filled with gratitude and disbelief. The nightmare was over, the darkness vanquished. But the scars remained, a reminder of the horrors we had witnessed and the price we had paid. In the aftermath, we dismantled the architects' network, exposing their crimes to the digital world. The authorities took notice, launching investigations and arrests. The dark web's darkest chapter had come to an end, but its echoes would linger in our memories forever. As I sit here, reflecting on the journey we undertook, I can't help but feel a sense of pride and sadness. We had faced the darkness head-on and emerged victorious, but at what cost? The digital realm was a double-edged sword, offering knowledge and power, but also harboring unimaginable horrors. But amidst the darkness, there was also hope. We had proven that even in the darkest corners of the internet, there were those willing to fight for what is right. And as we move forward, I carry with me the lessons learned and the bonds forged in the fires of adversity. The digital frontier may be treacherous, but with courage and unity, we can overcome any obstacle that stands in our way.